Okay, so everybody can hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, so my name is Kate, and for those of you who don't know me, I am Amanda's upline. So I'm Melissa's upline's upline. I started coaching in September of 2014, and I'll kind of get into more about my story later on. But today I'm on here so that I can talk to you guys about momentum, okay? So we're going to talk about what it is, how to gain it, and why you do not want to lose it, okay? So kind of the classic definition of momentum is the impetus gained by a moving object or idea. So it's the idea that a moving object keeps rolling much easier than if it has to start from a stop. So if you're thinking of, one of those kind of merry-go-rounds when you're a kid, and you've got your friends on the merry-go-round, and I don't even know if they have those anymore. I think they kind of found out they were death traps when I was a kid. But anyway, you have all your friends on the merry-go-round, and you do the short straw, so you're the one pushing. And when you start out, it's so difficult to get started and to start that momentum to make the merry-go-round go round. But as you pick up speed and you start running and running and running, it just gets faster and faster and faster, and it takes on speed of its own so that you can jump on, and it's just going to keep going round and round and round and round. And then, somebody else jumps off before it loses too much momentum to keep it going. And that's what you want to do with your business is once you gain the momentum, you want to keep that momentum up and you don't want to lose it. So this is a diagram from, where'd you go? That's a diagram from Tony Robbins. And so this is a full feedback loop, essentially. So if you guys haven't heard of Tony Robbins, Google him. He has some fantastic stuff. He actually has a fantastic blog site and ways in which to kind of make a plan to create momentum. And I'll post a link for that later because he has tools you can print right off the website for free, which is really cool. So what Tony Robbins says is that the potential for any human being is already there, and the market has already proven that. So we have an unlimited potential as human beings. The problem is that most people have predetermined belief about what their potential is. So most of the time, the problem isn't that we don't have the ability to succeed and grow. The problem is that we have this idea about how much success we can have. And a lot of it comes down to self-confidence and self-esteem, and also all of that programming that's been programmed into us over the years. Many of us have had moments or, have had periods in our life where we have that negative voice that's telling you, that negative feedback about, oh, you can't do this. This isn't for you. You don't have X, Y, and Z. And it's really crap. And one of the best things you can do for your business is to identify when that's going on and become an observer of that and try and figure out, okay, well, why am I saying that? And what is this founded in? Is this founded in fact, or is this just me being afraid? Is this because I'm afraid to try? Am I afraid to fail? But the bottom line is we all have the same potential to be successful and to be great in this business. You don't have to look any further than Lindsay Matway for that truth. This is a woman who was a broke bartender with a preemie baby who had filed bankruptcy, who grew to be one of the top earning coaches in this company. I mean, like, in the spring, the stat that was out was that this woman was making $269,000 a month with Beachbody. Like, that's a broke bartender who dropped out of school, who didn't have any special marketing skills, didn't have any business degree or an MBA, and she moved to the top of this business. So you don't have to look beyond that to know that this is anybody's game. This is anybody's game. You just have to be able to make a plan and carry out the actions for it. So you have to start with belief, and that belief has to be strong enough that you're willing to put your potential into action. Because if you have a ton of potential, and this kind of goes back to physics, and it can be complicated, but you have all this action potential. But if you aren't willing to take action, that potential all goes to waste. You can plan and plan and plan and plan, but if you're not willing to take that first step, you're not going to get results. So the idea is to recognize that you have the potential, to recognize that you can be successful, and then create an action plan so that you can start. there won't be any success if you don't take action, right? Like you're not going to fail, but you're not going to succeed. So, you know, it's important to put a plan in place, but you can't be afraid to fail before you start, because none of us are going to have a straight up ride. You know, anything new you try in life, you're probably going to fail 1 or 2 times at, or you're going to have to redirect your course, and that's just normal. I mean, do you know how many times Henry Ford failed at making the car before he actually made the automobile? And he changed the course of history as we know it, you know? So don't be afraid to fail. And, you know, we like to say in this business, fail forward, you know, learn from your mistakes and get back on the horse and try again, because you're just going to get better and better and better. So if you're finding that a big part of your problem is belief, you need to identify why. And this takes a little bit of self-reflection, and some people are really good at this and some people aren't. But as you start doing more personal development, you will kind of gain this sort of reflective nature if you don't already have it. You do need to take a bit of a hard look at yourself, and not to be critical, but to say, okay, what is causing these negative beliefs about myself? Why do I think that I have less potential than someone else? And just coming to the realization that, you know, it's other people's programming, and it's other people's, it's not your beliefs about yourself. You know, none of us start out thinking, oh, well, you know, when you're a kid, you don't start out believing that negative things about yourself. It's just programming that's been kind of forced on you, that you've picked up over the course of years, and you need to get rid of that garbage, because that's not going to serve you in the future. So it's really important to kind of get your belief system in order first, and then you can create a plan of action. And if you haven't kind of learned what SMART goals are, I would encourage you to look into SMART goals. There's a couple books that talk about it. Chalene Johnson is huge about goal planning and making actionable steps. So she's a fantastic one to look to. She has a 30-day kind of goal setting webinar that you can go through. It's for free. It's online. Brendan Burchard also talks about it, and Darren Hardy as well. But it's really important to learn how to set SMART goals. And I'm sure Melissa's probably also talked about SMART goals and making sure they're measurable and they're timely and they're specific. And those are all really important things, because you need to know where you've been, where you are now, and where you want to be in order to succeed. And the thing is, once you start taking action and you start seeing results, it increases your belief in yourself and what you're doing. And so it becomes a positive feedback loop. And that's where the potential starts, the momentum starts, right? Because you just keep seeing those things, or your belief is in yourself is growing your potential. And then because you have so much potential, you're taking more action. Because you're taking more actions consistently, you're gaining more results. So how to gain momentum? Know where you've been, where you are, and where you want to go. Okay? If you don't have a plan, it's like jumping in the car and just like not even picking a random destination, just taking random roads, right? Like if you just start turning randomly on roads, you have no idea where you're going to end up, and you'll probably end up lost. It's the same thing with something like that. If you set measurable goals, and then you can map out the steps to get there. And the thing is, there's so many resources that we have available to us in order to map those steps out. We're not, it's not too new territory. We're not doing something that nobody has ever done. We have so many upline coaches and so many valuable resources that we can use to map that out. And to get where we want to go. And, you know, really the sky is the limit. And, you know, you want to set goals that are tough, but that aren't unachievable. So you want to set something that's going to challenge you, because the challenge is what's going to really motivate you, most likely. But you don't want it to be overwhelming or to seem insurmountable. And I found that that's really helped me, because I do better under pressure. So if I set something that's tough, but that's still doable, I do better than if I set my bar too low. And as I was saying a little bit earlier, believe 100% that you're as capable as anyone else to achieve your goal. But nobody's going to do it for you. You have to be able to put in the hard work, and you have to be willing to do the things that it takes to achieve those goals. You know, if you're sitting there and going, well, how come they did this and I didn't? Well, are you doing the behaviors you need to be doing to get there? Are you working hard every day? Are you being consistent? Are you growing where you need to grow? Growth is a huge thing in this business. And that's one of the reasons why we don't compare ourselves to others, is because we're all at different places, and we're all looking, even though we're all growing businesses, we're all kind of doing it in different ways. And your values and the way you want to create your team is going to be different than, you know, someone else perhaps on the team. Perhaps you're really focused on, you know, adding value and helping others, and somebody else is really focused on financial freedom and the business side of it. You know, so you're going to build differently. So it's really not a good idea to compare yourself to others. But, you know, we do have a set of principles and a set of behaviors in this business that will help you achieve success. So you need to be aware that, you know, you are just as capable as anyone else to achieve your goals if you're doing the proper behaviors. Kind of went over that. Do the things day in and day out that will get you closer to your goals. If you have not read The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, I strongly encourage you to do this. He talks about the little things day in and day out that are going to compound over a long period of time to get you the results, which is exactly what momentum is. So for us, this is our power of threes. You know, it's a tedious sheet. I am not always great at filling it out, but that is going to really show you where you're focusing and where you're lacking in your business. So you're fantastic in inviting to challenge groups, but you're horrible at inviting or presenting the coach business opportunity. Then you know that you need to go back and watch some more either YouTube videos on the presenting the business, or talking to your upline about having business opportunity calls that they can be in on, so that you feel more confident in presenting the business and you have an expert that you can kind of refer to when talking to people about the business. So you really, your power of threes is going to show you where, and your upline, where your holes are in your business and where you need to kind of focus some of your energy. So make sure you're doing the power of threes and you're doing the activities on that. Invite. Even if you get no's, it doesn't matter. It's in their head. When I started out on this journey, for the first 3 months of my business, I had nobody join me. People were really supportive and really encouraging, but literally, like, I bought my mom a challenge pack, and a friend of mine who already had a program joined a challenge group with me, and that was it. You know, it took a while for people to see that I was going to be consistent with this, and that this was something that I was serious about, and that this wasn't just some harebrained scheme that I had going on. So invite, because you know what? All those people that initially were like, no, it's not for me, or it's not the right time, or had whatever excuse, they all came back. Post consistently. 3 to 5 times a day is extremely important. The consistency is part of what is going to gain you momentum and keep the momentum going. If you're not consistent, then you're going to lose momentum. It's really that simple. When you stop posting and people stop seeing that you're doing this on a consistent basis, and see that maybe you're not working out anymore, or you're not eating as well as you should, or you know, you're not really talking about your healthy lifestyle anymore, they're going to question whether you've actually stuck with it. Personal development, probably one of the biggest and most important factors in this business and for gaining momentum, because if you're not in the right headspace, you're not going to gain momentum and you're not going to keep it. You know, if you start making excuses for why you aren't where you want to be, and you just kind of shut down and go, well, this doesn't work, and you know, it doesn't work for me, and I can't do this, then you're going to lose your momentum. It's a huge momentum stopper when your head isn't in the right place. So keep growing, because there's so many resources out there for growing, you know, books, audio, CDs, there's entire programs that you can purchase. Like Tony Robbins has a whole program. Darren Hardy has whole programs. There's Success Magazine. There's a billion YouTube videos out there on any aspect of the coaching business you can think of. It's just the amount of personal development we have is really unlimited. So don't be afraid to tap into that 30 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day, whatever you're doing, is really important. And of course, be proof the product works. You don't have to throw it in people's face. It doesn't have to be a post-workout selfie every day, or a selfie with your Shakeology every day, or Beachbody this and Beachbody that. You know, just simply, you know, showing pictures of you being active with your kids, or, you know, wearing an awesome dress to an event and rocking it, and just the confidence that conveys very well to people. And that is when they're going to go, oh my God, what are you doing? You know, when you run into them at a party and you're just rocking that dress, and they can just see that your attitude is different and you're carrying yourself different, that really impacts people, and they're going to really see that you're doing something that's really worthwhile. So, you know, you can be subtle about the way you're proof that the product works, but it's very important for people to see that, you know, you're sticking with your game plan and you're staying healthy. Yeah, so like I said, do the tedious tasks every single day that move you forward. That is a huge part of the compound effect. And a lot of those tasks, like I say, it's things that we don't necessarily want to do. It's the social media posts, or it's the invites every day. You know, it's the workouts every day, and you know, it's running the challenge groups every month, even if we only have a couple people, or even if it's people that, you know, have been in the challenge groups before. But you just need to keep on keeping on with those things, and it's going to move you forward. If you spend all your time watching YouTube videos but you don't do any of the core business activities that are going to move your business forward, like inviting, then or creating, you know, a large invite for your Facebook or your like page, then you're not going to move your business forward. It's just like having all this potential but no action, right? You can gain as much information as you want, but if you're not willing to take that first step and post an invite or message a friend, or, you know, just strike up conversations with people, because I find that in almost every conversation I have, in some way, I have something to offer of value that I can relate to this business. Whether, you know, it's helping people with meal prep, or whether, you know, talking about nutrition, or talking about, you know, finding time in the day to do certain things, or, you know, sometimes it does come up about, you know, workouts or wanting to be healthier or whatever. And I find that usually there is something that I have a value that I can offer to people. So even just having those simple conversations with people on a daily basis can really move things forward. People like it when you treat them like they have value, and you listen to them and you want to genuinely help them. It comes off as a surprise, unfortunately, at this day of age, because so many people give and expect something in return. So it's really refreshing for people when you can actually give something and not expect anything necessarily in return. I find that Recipes is great for this. I've taken pictures of some of my recipes and I keep them on my phone. And when, you know, I know friends are struggling or they're not sure what to make for dinner or whatever, I'll send them a family-friendly recipe and just say, hey, I know you're not too sure what to make for dinner. Here's something that's fast and easy and it's delicious and it's great for you. And people tend to really appreciate those things. So don't be afraid to do the little tasks every day that are really going to make a big difference. Reevaluate your goals on an ongoing basis and adjust accordingly. So most of us are really great at making goals at the beginning of the year. We set out on this elaborate plan to fulfill our goals. It's like resolutions, right? I know I've made a list of like my top 10 goals for the year. You need to be reevaluating your goals pretty much on a weekly basis. I try and set aside times on Sunday, just kind of like you set aside times to meal prep and plan. For me, my Sunday is different every week, depending on if I'm working or not, because I work shift work. But I take a day a week where I kind of reevaluate my goals, both in the business and just in my general life, kind of see if I'm on track, if they're still applicable to where I'm going, and then make adjustments accordingly. Sometimes we set out with goals at the beginning of the year, and as the year goes on, they become irrelevant or less important, and that's okay. It's not a bad thing. Our priorities and you know, our values change as we grow. But if you don't reevaluate your goals, you're not really cementing them in your brain. You want to keep those in your brain, whether you have them on your phone on a list, or whether you have them, you know, posted on a wall in your room or next to the mirror in the bathroom. You want to be looking at your goals every single day, and you want to be reevaluating them on a regular basis and adjusting them to make sure that they're still applicable, you know. Or if you've reached them, then it's time to set new ones, right? So sometimes you're going to hit goals faster than you anticipated. And then, you know, it's not just smooth sailing from there. If you've hit goals faster, that's a good indication that you've got some awesome momentum going on, and you want to keep rolling with that momentum. So you need to set new goals in that area and keep pushing forward, because you want to take advantage of that momentum. I'm telling you, like, that's when you see people go from, like, you know, diamond to 5-star in a matter of 6 months, and it's like, holy crap, how did they just do that? Well, they rode the momentum wave. You know, they got into the pattern that was helping them see results, and they kept going with it. Create systems to make your work easier. We're very blessed that we're on a team where this is done for us. So there are a lot of systems that are set up, both through Melissa and through the Uplift page, and I've also set up some on my team page as well. Things like the 5-day clean eating groups, meal plans for the 21-day fix, the grocery lists, the layouts for challenge groups, the layouts for coach training, all of those things we have access to. And so you don't have to create a new system every single time you go to do something in this business. You can tweak what already exists and make it work for you. And that way you're not reinventing the wheel and you're not expending a huge amount of energy on something that really you don't need to be spending energy on. Your energy is much better being spent on those things that are going to move your business forward. So of course you want to run the 5-day clean eating groups and challenge groups and, coach training, and you want it to be authentically you. But if you already have kind of the bone structure for what you're doing as far as your systems go, it makes life a lot easier. Affirmations to reaffirm your belief in yourself and your purpose. If you don't have a purpose and you don't have, your why, you're not going to achieve your dream, right? So you need to create things that are going to reaffirm your belief in yourself and your purpose. If you don't believe in affirmations, that's fine. But, for me, I take a few minutes every morning, and I usually have 3 affirmations that I focus on for the day. And I also like to focus and be in first thing in the morning on gratitude and be grateful before I even get out of bed for 3 things. And that way I'm starting my day off on the right foot. And it's the difference between momentum and how you're feeling too. If you're starting your day off on the wrong side of the bed, then that's going to throw your whole day off. But if you're starting off on the right side of the bed, then when you have those little things during the day that kind of throw you off, you're a lot more able to brush them off if you started your day off with affirmations, reconfirming like that you can achieve your goals and you are working towards them, and the kind of person that you want to be and your purpose for this business and for your life. It'll be a lot easier for you to get over the little speed bumps that come up in your day if you've done that kind of in the morning. So my story. So this is a picture of myself, my brother, and my sister-in-law. I'll start in 2014 just to kind of spare everybody the gritty details, but I started off 2014 in a fantastic way. I was doing contract nursing work, so I travel around on contracts to nurse. I started doing this because I wanted to spend more time with my brother and my sister-in-law's children. They had a little girl and a little boy. And working in a hospital, I just found that I was a slave to the hospital system and I wasn't getting to spend the time I wanted to with my family. Contract work meant I could choose my schedule and I could decide when I wanted to work and when I didn't. And it was about working smarter, not harder. So I get paid better when I'm away. And I was able to just kind of say, okay, well, I can go away for 6 weeks and then take a month or 2 off if I want and spend that at home with my family instead of only getting a few days off here or there. So December 28th, I headed to Grande Cache, which was a place that I had done contracts before, and where my boyfriend was living at the time. And yes, I met him on contract. He's a medical lab technologist that works in the hospital also. So the year seemed to be starting off fantastic. We were basically having a trial run living together because I was provided accommodations in Grande Cache, but I was able to basically live with him and kind of see how it was going to go. And then February happened. Beginning first week of February, we lost my grandmother, and then 2 weeks later, unexpectedly lost my father-in-law. My grandmother, while he was expected, we knew that she wasn't well. I wasn't able to get out of my contract to kind of go home and be with my family. And while my family understood, it can be really difficult to be a nurse and not be able to be there for your own family when they're ill. My father-in-law was completely unexpected. By the time we realized how gravely ill he was, we booked a flight for my boyfriend to fly home. And unfortunately, he passed away before Justin even left Grande Cache. Once again, I was stuck in a legally binding contract in which I couldn't fly home with him. So he flew home to Ontario for a few days to be with his family and then came back out west. And I was fortunate enough that I was able to be there for him. He had to be away from his family and working. At that point in time, we started reevaluating kind of what we wanted to do with our life and where we wanted to be. Justin was really overworked at his job, and it was just coming to be too much. So we kind of took a step back, realized we needed a better work-life balance, and he made the decision to look for a job at a different hospital that was less busy. He was working a 40-hour work week and on call 24 hours every other week. So he only had 4 days off a month, and we were in a very rural, remote area. So we really didn't have much of a work-life balance at all. So we started planning for that, and we started looking at moving to BC because he really liked BC. He got a job in BC. I continued my contract in Grande Cache, and we had made the plans to move the end of June. So my contract ended in Grande Cache in mid-April, and I flew home to Ontario, to Kingston, spent some time with family there, and then went home to Southern Ontario to spend some time with my brother and his wife and their kids and my family. I can honestly say that those 3 weeks were probably some of the most memorable of my life. I got to spend a lot of time with my niece and nephew, who were only 2 and 3 at the time. I spent a lot of time with my brother and my dad because we put a new roof on my grandfather's house, and just really enjoyed my time home with my family. I went and celebrated my 30th birthday in Kingston, and then flew out west to start my new life with Justin. We were packing up the U-Haul on June 25th, just a week after my birthday and 3 days after my brother's, when I missed a call from my mom, and I had an urgent text to call her. So I called her, and she asked me to call Justin up from the U-Haul that we were literally in the middle of packing, and informed me that my brother had been killed in a workplace accident. He left behind a 2 and 3-year-old and his beautiful wife. And the worst part about it was that he was electrocuted by his welding machine, and he had been badly shocked a month prior, had reported it, and had left work early that day because he was so shaken up by it, and nothing had been done about it. So in a very quick period of time, my world came crashing down. I tend to work very well under stress, so I decided, hey, I'm going to finish the move. We're just going to pack everything into the U-Haul, throw it in the apartment in BC, and I'll fly home. I knew that the coroner would have to do his investigation and that they wouldn't be able to do anything for a few days, and my parents were in agreement with that. Before I could really decide to do that, I had to call and cancel a contract that I was supposed to be taking in July, and I also my mom had tried to contact my sister-in-law at work and was unable to because her cell phone was off. So the first call I made after talking to my parents was to my sister-in-law's work. She was a waitress, and I already had messages in my inbox because we grew up in a small town, so word travels fast. So I already had messages saying, oh my God, Kate, I'm so sorry. And all I could think of was, oh my God, just can't find out from somebody walking into the restaurant. So I called the restaurant, had her pulled off the floor. And while I meant to have her call my parents and have my parents tell her when her grandmother or her sister was able to join her, she ended up weaseling out of me what was going on because, of course, she initially thought something was wrong with the kids. And then when I said the kids were fine, she knew it was Josh. So I ended up being the one to tell her that her husband had been killed. So the next couple of days were kind of a blur. We basically threw everything in the U-Haul, and I flew home. And I spent the month of July home in Ontario with my family. I took care of the kids. I did whatever I could to support the family. Josh had been the one who stayed home. I went away to university, and I moved away, and he was the one that had stayed fairly close to home. He was the one that had given them grandchildren, and it was really, really difficult on my parents, and obviously my sister-in-law. My nephew won't remember him. My niece certainly knew he was gone. And, it's something senseless for us, but trying to explain it to a 3-year-old is even crazier. So I spent the month of July in Ontario, just trying to support everybody the best I could. And then I flew back out west because I knew that I had to start my new life in BC. Unfortunately, it wasn't that easy. I got to Castlegar, and Justin was working on average 8-hour days. And I was alone in an apartment in a new town where I had no friends and had no support system. So I tried really hard to kind of hide my grief from him, but I was finally able to grieve for myself. And I was just really having a hard time coming to terms with the fact that my younger brother was dead. I'd always been a very purpose-driven, problem-solving sort of person, but my biggest problem was that my brother was dead and there was no solution to that. So I didn't really know who was going to be coming out the other side. You're trying all these new things and experiencing all these amazing things, and it was bittersweet. I couldn't enjoy it because every single time, we'd drive through the mountains or go to a hot spring or go camping, all I could think was, oh my God, Josh will never experience this. So this is kind of the way August went for me. And then I finally went, you know what, this is not the way he would want me to live. He should not be my excuse for living a crappy life. I wasn't working out anymore. I wasn't eating healthy. Eating was a means to an end. I gained weight. And I just knew that I had to make some major changes because I should be living more and loving more, not living and loving less. and I wanted to set a legacy for him. So I booked another contract for September, and I contacted my coach, Christina, about doing a workout program because I thought I would need the accountability group, and I knew I was going somewhere where there was no gym. And then I found out about the coaching opportunity, and I had always been very passionate about preventative care, so for me it was a perfect fit. So as soon as I signed up to do the challenge, I also signed up to be a coach, and I haven't looked back. What you should know about my Beachbody journey is those first 3 months, I literally had no challengers other than people that already had program or who were related to me, basically. And I worked my butt off to try and create the momentum that I need to keep going. And, you know, they really say, when they say these are the crucial months leading up to January, they're not kidding. These are the crucial months. What you do now is going to be a payoff, you know, tenfold in January. The first 3 months, I wasn't getting a lot of interest. I was just getting a lot of, you know, oh, that's really good. I'm so happy for you. Oh, you look like you're doing, you know, so well. And I was very public about my journey and about my struggles, because there were a lot of people that really loved Josh that were struggling, and I wanted people to know that it was okay and that they weren't alone, and that, you know, there was somebody else going through what they were going through, and that everybody struggles sometimes. So I was very public with my personal journey through this whole time. And then in January, I did a call to action related to New Year's and about being, you know, New Year's resolution time and getting, you know, if you're ready to make a change, contact me. And things took off. That's when all that hard work started paying off, and I really gained a lot of momentum. I signed 6 coaches in January. You know, my challenge groups were overflowing. My Success Club points were the best they've ever been. Things were going really, really well. And February was a lot the same, and I got to go to the Super Saturday in Calgary and just had an amazing experience there. And then I started kind of losing momentum. And I think part of the reason was because I was so focused on these new coaches that I stopped doing the other activities that I really needed to do, which was your inviting and, you know, those little tedious tasks day in and day out. I was so focused on these new coaches that in the end, you know, weren't necessarily going to stick with it. Some of them were just discount coaches, that I really wasn't doing the activities that I need to be doing to continue to grow my business. So inevitably, you know, my challenge groups dried up, and some of those coaches quit, and I got discouraged because I wasn't seeing the same success. But the problem was that I'd let my momentum fall. Instead of keeping it going, instead of keeping to doing those activities, I'd stop doing those activities, and I had to start again from scratch. And I mean, you know, it took me a few months to kind of get there and realize like that was what was happening. You know, I kind of dibble dabbled, and I had a few challengers here and there, and I'd run my challenge groups because I had repeat customers coming back. But I really wasn't taking the business nearly as seriously as I needed to. And I wasn't realizing that I was going to have to double down in order to regain the momentum that I had lost. So this summer I went to Nashville, had an amazing experience. Was there with Melissa and Amanda and many of the other team members. And